Well, hello, y'all. It is time to breathe again on the latest Breath of Fresh Air Shouty with your host, Charles Taylor. So, if I seem a little bit more happier than usual, y'all know I'm normally always happy, but if I seem a little bit happier than usual, it's because the college football rankings came out, college football playoff rankings came out, and my team, the Texas Longhorns, are in there. So, yes, this is me coming through saying the Longhorns are officially back. I said they would be back if they won the Big 12 conference, and I didn't know if they would. Well, actually, yeah, I had them making the college football playoff this year anyway. So I said at that moment, that would be when the Longhorns could be declared back. And now they're back. So very happy to see them in there getting that 3 seed where they will play Washington in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. And then the other matchup is Michigan against Alabama. More on that in a minute. Uh, in the Rose Bowl out in Pasadena, California. So both of those games, of course, will be played on the 1st of January. And the winner of those two games will go to the national championship game in Houston the week after, January 8th. That game will play in NRG Stadium in Houston. Now, a lot of discussion, and rightfully so, has been based on who didn't get in. And particularly, it's about Florida State not getting in. Florida State, of course, went undefeated, 13 and 0, won a Power 5 conference in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Now, since they did not get in, there are people who are very, very hot. There are a lot of articles that are out there talking about how the college football playoff committee messed this up. This is a sham. This is ridiculous. Every adjective in the book, people are upset. And I will sit here and say, I am with the Florida State community. I thought Florida State would be in. If they were able to take care of their business, they would get in there. I actually had them getting in there from, well, I mean, after the games were over. I didn't pick them to get in from the beginning. My final four, if you recall, when I did the Shortie, when Patrick Brackett and I did the Shorties previewing the college football season, I had Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and Alabama as the final four teams. I believe Patrick had Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and Florida State getting in. But Florida State took care of their business, and they're still left out. Now, again, I thought Florida State would be in after defeating Louisville in the ACC championship game, and Texas would get the fourth spot because the other teams, all right, Bama, you know, you could make a case for them because they won the SEC. Georgia and Ohio State, they were out. I know people were talking about what Georgia has done in the last couple of years, winning the two titles in a row, being number one all season, winning, I think it was 28 or 29 in a row before losing to Bama yesterday in the SEC title game. But this is not, I repeat, this is not a lifetime achievement award. This is not a this is what happened in the past, so they deserve to get in because of their reputation award. This is an annual thing that is determined by what happened in this season. And Georgia did not do enough. Ohio State, I don't even know why people were trying to make a case for Ohio State, but that's a travesty and that is laughable to me. And Ohio State did not get in. They didn't deserve to get in. But again, you have uh, Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama in there, and Florida State gets left out. I I feel the disappointment for the Florida State community and their fans. I think personally they should have been in. But I'm going to read this to you, to the Florida State community, and to everybody else who will watch and listen to this. Um, I'm going to read the College Football Playoff Handbook. So I got my computer over here with me because I'm doing this on the phone. And I'm going to read from their site. This is directly from their site, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee Protocol. And when you go to it, if you haven't already, it has their mission statement, principles, voting processes, number of teams to be ranked, meeting schedule, points per point persons for gathering information, metrics they look at, participants, pairings for semifinals, all kinds of stuff. It's like 15 tabs. I won't go into all of them, but you get the point about what all they have in here. But I'm going to read the principles verbatim. Again, this is from the College Football Playoff site, and you can go to their protocol and read through all this. But their principles say this. I'm just going to read them. The selection committee will select the team using a process that distinguishes among otherwise comparable teams by considering the following: conference championships won, strength of schedule, head to head competition, comparative outcomes of common opponents, without incenting or insinuating or without incenting margin of victory, and other relevant factors such as unavailability of key players and coaches that may have affected a team's performance during the season or likely will affect its postseason performance. Now, I was not myself. I was not aware of this until I actually heard it on CBS Sports Radio. So shout out to Zach Gelb, who is a host during the week on the show, and then he does Eye on Football during the NFL season. So shout out to Zach Gelb on that one because that's where I heard about these principles. And they can come, I'm talking about the committee, they can come and look at these principles, and that final one, the key players and coaches that may have affected the team's performance during the season or likely will affect its postseason performance, that's what ultimately, in my eyes, got Florida State. I agree with Zach Gelb when he read that. I think the Jordan Travis injury really hurt Florida State. Their offense sputtered, even though they got the wins behind the strength of their defense. They struggled on offense, and I think what happened, without watching the reaction from the committee as they were announcing all this stuff on ESPN, I think what happened was they looked at future games. So if Florida State was to get in there with, say, Michigan, Washington, and Texas, uh, they thought the games wouldn't be as good if perhaps Alabama got in there or if Georgia got in there. Again, let me stress, I'm not saying this is right. I'm not saying it's correct. I'm not saying this is the gospel. Because I believe Florida State should have been in there. Because how are we gonna know if they're not gonna get put in there? They did everything they were supposed to do. They should be in there, and I I think Texas should have got in regardless, and then the SEC would have been left out. And I know that would have been another group of fans that would have been upset if the SEC didn't get a team in there. The SEC has been dominant. I have talked about how the SEC has won 14 of the last 20 national championships going into this year. I get it. I understand it. But again, this is a year to year thing. With all that being said, reading this bylaw, I can understand where the committee might have made the decision to put Alabama in besides Florida State. And I'm not saying it is right. As a matter of fact, I disagree with it. I think Florida State should have been in there. But this is me just trying to throw a little bit of reason. I know this is not going to sit well with Florida State fans. It shouldn't. There's no constellation for this. But this is me just pointing out what the bylaws say, and I didn't even know about it until I had heard CBS Sports Radio. So, um, the Florida State fans and faculty and the community and the athletic director blasted the committee, and the committee was going to get blasted regardless of what had happened. And this is what happens when you have a committee that's not consistent. They haven't been consistent over the years. And then you get a case like this where it's gonna bubble over. Now, things will start to get better next year. The playoffs will expand, and maybe some of these teams they will actually get to play it out on the field. But for this year, Florida State was the team that got left out. And reading this bylaw, I think it makes a little bit more sense as to why Florida State did get left out. I'm not agreeing with it. I feel the pain of the Florida State fans because again, I thought they were in, but this is me just trying to reason, trying to be logical about it, understanding where they're coming from and why they made the decisions they made. Everybody's going to be on one side or the other. And again, I think Florida State should be in, but I can see from reading this bylaw, these principles, why they might have decided to pick Alabama. So, with that being said, that is what I am breathing on for today. Y'all make sure y'all go to the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, and follow the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. It is great to be back on a shorty. I've been out for a couple of weeks. I will get into why I've been out for a while, why the live webcast has been on hold for a little bit. I will get into that in the coming weeks and let you guys know what is coming up with the product, what the state is, and where we plan on going from here. For now, everybody take care. Have a great week ahead, and we will talk soon. Take care.